All right. How's everybody doing? My name is 12 Gauge. This is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. It's my third live of the day, but it's definitely talking about something different than the Idaho 4 case. I know I've did a live earlier on that. Just got back from the gym, so kind of excited to follow up with this CARINA Sanders case. I did start this case last week, and I wanted to complete it because I did promise the sub that I would continue with the case and I'd get more information. So let me go in here and rehash a little bit on what we're talking about. Hello, PKC. Do I ever sleep? Yes, I do, but I haven't been lately. I don't know what's been going on. Had a lot of things going on that haven't been sleeping all that great. I was sick for a while, so probably coming off of that. So let me go back and kind of give you a little bit of heads up on this. CARINA Sanders is from Oklahoma City. On October 13, 2011, it began as a warm autumn day in Oklahoma City. There was a slight breeze, enough to stave off the rising heat as the morning shifted into early afternoon. Perfect weather for being outside. It was on this comfortable day that the local animal rescue group went out to set humane traps to capture feral cats living around a homeland grocery store. The surrounding grounds were nothing more than a field with an outlining crop of trees. It wouldn't be long before a few crew members made a grim discovery. So you can already tell that this is going to be something that isn't going to be a good thing. Amongst the low-lying brush, a pair of bags rested. A foul odor permeated the area. The crew immediately alerted police, who would go on to identify the remains as those of a missing woman from the area. The heartbreaking case of CARINA Saunders is a roller coaster of misinformation with more than a few suspects and its myths. It remains unsolved, but with the combined effort of determined hopefuls, maybe we can help CARINA and her loved ones receive the justice they've long deserved. So there's CARINA, and I'm going to finish playing the video. She was found in Oklahoma City behind a grocery store. She was 19 years old. It's such a sad case. And here we go.
The unknown man. But Mai said something even more significant.
The first time we were there to get high. And so we just were in this guy's garage and we just smoked, and I colored on the walls with a Sharpie, and CARINA, I think, colored somewhat, and it was just like random doodling, like really.
She mentioned the doodling to me more than once. She couldn't confirm if the house was in fact the Harvey house, but I thought maybe I could by looking for evidence of their artwork or CARINA's name in these images of the house. Much of it is indecipherable. I noticed several scribblings in permanent marker, smiley faces in paint, and red smears on the doors. Also disturbing are handprints on the walls, huge chunks of missing sheetrock, and apparent death notes. But was this the same house? It seems inconclusive. Sources have told me in August 2011, a frustrated neighbor spray-painted "Dope House" all over the exterior of the house, and that hours later, the alleged drug dealers moved their stuff out of the house and set it on fire.
I could certainly see someone being afraid of something that may be found in that residence, so they went back to destroy it, and fire would be the easiest way to do that.
Are you glad it's gone?
Oh, yeah.
It's gone, and likely so is any evidence. Was this a miss in the beginning? Eyewitnesses say detectives were here in June 2012, 8 months after the murder, in what was described as a simple.
So that goes along with my theory on the Idaho 4 case, as far as it being a dope house. You'd think if somebody brought any attention to that house as it being a dope house, that people would have stayed in there as long as they did. I seriously doubt it.
Ground search. We checked and couldn't find any paperwork to show detectives dug any deeper, raising the question. The house had obviously been destroyed by the time detectives got here, but why not check below the surface? If investigators had dug in on every lead in the beginning, they could have pulled the old pipes to test for blood evidence. And at the very least, they'd have a better understanding of why this area is unsettled now.
There's something out there, that mound of stuff that's out there.
We tracked down the wrecking company and confirmed the house had a basement prior to the demolition. We can't say for certain what's pushing the ground up, but if a basement still exists, could evidence be buried in it? The only way to find out for sure would be to use ground-penetrating radar to look for an anomaly. 2 different companies denied our request to perform the test. What if CARINA's missing body parts are buried underneath?
I don't know why somebody hadn't come and checked and seen what that was.
Investigators eventually digged somewhere else, though, and uncovered disturbing items hidden below. We'll explore if their discovery also unearths some answers.
So they use ground penetrating radar to look on that land, hoping to find CARINA's body parts. She had parts of her body cut off. I don't know if y'all remember that. She had a tattoo that somebody attempted to cut off of her. It was just very tragic, man. Just very tragic.
I dropped her off there. I met the man, and he seemed to be an upstanding person, claimed to be a safe house for many people who had meth addictions, and they came to him as a safe haven. She swore up and down that he was a good guy, so I left her at his house in his care. I wish I'd have killed him then.
With the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation digging literally into the so-called safe house in 2017, Richard Saunders recalled just how reluctant he'd been to leave his daughter there 6 years earlier.
When you have a 19-year-old addicted to drugs, yeah, you're afraid for her all the time because you don't know where she's going to end up.
The concerned father tried the direct approach.
There was a conversation. It was probably one of those where you should listen to your daddy. Daddy knows best. You shouldn't be doing this. You need to stay away from this type of living.
When that didn't work, he tried intimidating those around her, including the man at that house.
I told him, anything happens to my little girl, I'll come after you first. And then when I did go back looking, he wasn't there.
He's not found Kenny Richards, and neither have we, yet.
According to what I was told, that house right there was Kenny's. That's where I've knocked on that door many times.
The 54-year-old has been notoriously elusive since Bethany police first questioned him in 2011. He's never been arrested in connection with CARINA's murder, but he has quite a rap sheet. I pulled his criminal arrest record to help us track him down. He's been in and out of prison a lot, convicted 12 times in Oklahoma, not for violent offenses, mostly drug crimes. Looking more closely, I noticed Richards had a different address on nearly every arrest report after CARINA's death. A check of public records databases indicated Richards moved into the alleged safe house in the mid-90s. He moved out within a year of CARINA's murder and then kept on moving. It certainly made us wonder, what is Kenny Richards running from?
Hello?
Mr. Richards, Lisa Monahan.
Yes.
CARINA's family is suffering, and I'm hoping that you can help us help them.
We'll explore what put Kenny Richards under suspicion and why we're determined more than ever to track him down in just a moment. For now, let's dig in on his backyard as the OSBI did in search for evidence in CARINA's case.
These types of investigations are challenging
In 2017, armed with a warrant, a team of CSI agents led by Captain Beth Green excavated portions of the property at 504 and 504.5 Oakdale.
We're not dealing with the primary scene, and we're not dealing with a fresh scene either.
The agents were acting on a tip that was several years old. In 2013, an anonymous email claimed Kenny Richards buried CARINA's clothes and missing remains in a metal tank on his property. That information was
I mean, that's what makes it so terrible is usually when you get tips, and if they're years old or they're months old or whatever, it's so hard to carry that out so quickly. And like what she's saying, they're having to dig up a yard that hasn't been used in for a long time. Wait till you see what they find. It's going to trip you out. And tell me what you think after they find us, okay? I want to get your thoughts on this.
somehow overlooked by the original detectives and only later discovered by the OSBI in its review of the suspect pool. We were there for the dig.
When you are going to conduct a search like this, what do you know about the property going in? How do you prepare yourself for this sort of search?
We look at Google Earth images because the Google Earth images will have oftentimes historic images, and so you can compare those and see if there's any, changes to the terrain.
What could changes to the terrain indicate?
Sometimes you can see, okay, we used to have a structure here and now it's gone. Other times you can see on Google Earth disturbances in the ground.
In this case, Google Earth provided no conclusive evidence the ground had been disturbed. Certainly, there had been plenty of time for someone to dig up and possibly relocate evidence. Hopefully, the excavation will provide some answers.
Anytime we're doing any searches for clandestine graves or buried evidence or whatever, they're very methodical searches, and we use what's called ground penetrating radar. And what we're doing when we use that type of equipment is we're looking for below the surface level abnormalities.
The CSI team spent 3 days searching the backyard.
This isn't like getting out a backhoe and just, digging a pool and you're just trying to get as much dirt as possible at this with each scoop. There's finesse to make sure that we're scraping, small amounts of dirt at a time.
They never uncovered a buried septic tank as the tip suggested, but something similar was uncovered in the front yard.
I remember a big tank. I don't think it was a septic tank. It seems like it was just like a trash, or maybe an old charcoaler or something like that.
Hidden inside it, a woman's shirt, a jacket, and a pair of sandals. Investigators also collected a folding knife during the excavation. They never said if they believe the items are connected to the murder.
What do y'all think, guys? Do you think any of the stuff that they found could have been connected to that murder? A woman's shirt, a pair of sandals, and a knife.
Further review of the search warrants indicate investigators had hoped to find something else. The same tip suggested a phone containing video of CARINA's murder was in Richard's car in 2013, but it has never been found.
Now, that doesn't mean that there hadn't previously been evidence there that was removed.
That is always a possibility if someone thinks that they're starting to be looked at, that they could.
Absolutely. Especially when we have years going by.
At this point in time, you feel confident there's no evidence buried there?
I would say yes. We wouldn't have left the scene if we felt like there were other areas that we needed to search.
So you overturned the entire backyard?
I can't say that we overturned the entire backyard, but we...
Okay, they had gotten a tip that this guy lived at this house that used to be a safe house. The 19-year-old was dropped off by her dad at this house because she was on drugs, and it was going to be one of those homes where she could get off drugs, she could be safe, not have to worry about it. Well, she went missing. The guy moved out of that house a year after her murder. That's the guy that was on the phone with the investigative reporter. They dug up the backyard on a tip that there would be clothing and things buried in a barrel. What they found was a woman's shirt, sandals, and a knife. And what I was asking was, do you believe that any of that stuff that they found could have been connected to the murder.
I feel like we did a complete search.
There are limits to what Captain Green can tell us, given that this is still an active investigation. But some people close to the case told us the search of the Oakdale house is not complete.
And I thought, you know, they don't look like they're digging in the right spot. They have a secret underground there.
I wonder why they haven't dug under that house to see what actually is under there.
Several people have alluded to a sunken vault or hidden tunnel system.
I've heard firsthand from the people that dug it. Supposedly it started out being a well. I never saw it, but Kenny himself told me about it. So he said that if you guys would have been looking hard enough, that you would have either found it or found something.
Running down this lead was beyond our capabilities, but the OSBI would have the authority.
Is it possible the correct area was not searched?
Based on the information that we had at the time and have at this point, I do believe that we did a thorough investigation. I mean, obviously, if anybody has information, we want it.
We gave OSBI the information about a possible bunker or tunnel system under the house, but they have not indicated if they intend to do anything with it. In the meantime, I can't help but wonder, is this the place where CARINA spent her final hours? Someone is keeping a dark secret. We just need to keep pushing to shed some light on it. We need to delve into CARINA's life in the weeks just before her murder. What was she doing?
She started hanging out with different people.
They were very much a bad influence on her.
Her closest friends say she'd become distant.
She didn't seem to be in a great place, but she, there's nothing I could do. I just told her, be careful.
CARINA had graduated from Mustang High School a year before them and quickly went out on her own. And it didn't take long for those friends and her family to become leery of her new lifestyle.
All the stories that she would tell me about the people she was hanging around, guys and girls, I'm like, no, that's bad. They're bad for you.
She was struggling with drug addiction and living with her new boyfriend at the Rockwell Arms Apartments in Bethany, the apartment complex directly across from where her body was found.
I think he knows something that he's not saying.
CARINA's boyfriend would have been a natural suspect, except that he was in jail at the time of her murder. He'd been picked up on an outstanding warrant more than a month before her death. In July 2011, police responded to a report of a domestic dispute and found the boyfriend had been beating on CARINA. He went to prison and was not released until days after CARINA turned up dead.
Every time she was around, and it was all bad.
The boyfriend is one of the only people in CARINA's circle who had a solid alibi, but that didn't stop police from searching his apartment. We know he and his father were questioned by police shortly after the murder.
I just don't want to be on this.
Okay. He refused to talk with us, but I'm not sure he would have provided any relevant information about CARINA's final days. After all, he was locked up.
I even talked to her, please, go to rehab, consider rehab.
With the boyfriend out of the picture, CARINA tried to get sober. She went to rehab August 16th, where she met a guy. She left the program early, but the two of them had made plans to battle their addictions together at his home in Kanawha.
That happens more often than not. When I first started, I wasn't even a therapist yet, but I used to work as a tech in a drug rehab, and that happens more often than not. People meet up in there, they check out, and they try to make it together, and something always goes wrong with their lives for whatever reason. Some jail contacts or such like just released cellmate. Very good point.
Do you think her leaving rehab was a defining moment?
Oh, yeah. Because she wasn't ready to get out of there and she wasn't strong enough to stay away.
Still, by all accounts, CARINA seemed happy with him and on the right path. And in mid-September, she made a surprise visit home 1 week before her disappearance.
There was just an aura about her that was just really beautiful and really sweet.
That weekend, CARINA spent time with her father and went to a baby shower with her high school friends.
When you saw her at the baby shower, did she seem like normal CARINA from high school, or had things changed? What was she like?
She was really happy. She was still her goofy CARINA self.
always could make us smile and laugh.
When you look at the house now, what memories come to mind?
I feel sad. I feel sad.
She also spent the night at her mom's house in Mustang.
I just look back to that weekend because there was just something about her.
Margie didn't know it then, but September 18th would be their last day together.
I think she was on her way. I think she's on her way to coming back to us. She was really happy to be where she was. And when we went to church, she gave her life to Jesus. She raised her hand. She earned herself a place in heaven.
And a special place in.
Well, that is awesome to hear that she was saved before she was murdered. I mean, if there's a silver lining, that is definitely it. But think about how many stories we've heard about the women that are escaping a bad situation, a dysfunctional situation, and they're about to go back to where they had a stable environment, and bam, they're killed before they even make it. That's it just heartbreaking.
Pastor Steve Cowan's heart.
It's just like there was like a spotlight on her that day. And she just, like she hung on every word, like she was searching or looking for something. And then I gave the invitation, who's really having her life changed by Jesus. She looked up and made eye contact with me. She said the prayer, and it was awesome to see that.
And I remember we just embraced in church, and I hugged her, and I didn't want to let her go, and I was crying. And it was just the most beautiful thing ever.
Grateful for their time together, Margie took CARINA back to Kanawha. She drove away thinking they'd finally reached a turning point.
I remember driving away, and they were in the backyard, and she was leaning against the chain link fence, kind of looking out away from me, just looking out into the sky. And that was my last time I saw her.
Looking back now, she wonders what went wrong from that point. Did CARINA know something bad was about to happen? Or was her murder a mistake? To better understand CARINA's final weeks, we started from scratch building a timeline of her movements. We found CARINA took some drastic measures to stay sober. She sought salvation, even tried to physically remove herself from the temptations of the city by moving to Kanawha.
It is hard to stay sober. Like I always say, you can't heal the same place you got sick at. It's difficult. And you're right, Cash, about AA. Some of it turns people away more than it helps them based on the approach that many people give in that program. But it is a great program if you really try to incorporate it for yourself. But sometimes you're not ready. And when you're not ready and it's being pushed on you, it turns you away just like everything else. If you're not ready for it, you're going to fight it. You know what I mean? And you're very right on point there. So CARINA was trying to get her life in order. She was trying to turn the corner. She'd gotten away from the domestic violence part of it. Her boyfriend was locked up. She was trying to get her life back in order. And then something tragic happened.
It didn't work.
She'd come to the house, but then after a couple of weeks, she started going back and forth to the city, using again.
Staying away from old habits proved difficult for CARINA, and eventually her intended rehab partner decided it was best to part ways.
I told her to load all her stuff back up, and I begged her to go back to her mom's.
He couldn't remember when, but guessed it was within a couple weeks of her disappearance.
And she wouldn't do it. She had me take her to a trailer park in Valley Brook.
Known as a haven for strip clubs, Tiny Valley Brook is home to an inordinate number of sex offenders and is rife with crime, making it a notable mark in the timeline. It's not clear who CARINA visited or what she did there. It is clear she didn't stay long.
Wow, if that isn't a marketing pitch, I don't know what is. Did y'all see what that sign said? It said, "Student loans got you down, now hiring." That's a strip club that has that sign. That's amazing.
I believe that there was somebody threatening her. I believe that somebody was scaring her and trying to manipulate her.
By mid-September, CARINA was at her cousin Catherine Bloodworth's house.
She's always looked up to me, and I haven't lived the most solid, life.
Catherine admits she was probably not the best influence at that time.
I started working in the strip club, and then from there, I got introduced to prostitution through a boyfriend. So I was living fast. At some point, she had asked me for help and wanted to do some of the things that I was doing during that time, and of course I said no.
Instead, she offered CARINA a safe place to stay, under one condition: no drugs around her kids.
I didn't know who was picking her up in the middle of the night from my home. I didn't know how she was getting back and forth. She would just come and go, come and go.
Within a week, Catherine says she found drugs in CARINA's purse and made a tough decision.
This was our deal. Like, you wouldn't have anything at my house. Call someone, call one of your friends, I'm dropping you off.
With no phone, no car, and now no place to stay, CARINA turned to Facebook, posting, "What's everyone doing tonight?" It apparently worked, because that night, September 28th, CARINA asked to be dropped off at the Taco Bell near I-40 in Rockwell to meet a friend.
That's when I saw it was an old man, and I was just like, who's that? She said, "That's my sugar dope daddy. If you don't help me, then this guy will," type of deal. Out of anger, I just didn't help her out of anger, and I knew I was supposed to. And I knew better.
Catherine blames herself.
You know what's sad is, if you've ever been in that position, which I have, I've dropped women off that have been struggling with, you name it, whatever it is, and they make calls like that, and she's so right. They could make a call, they could make a post, they could do anything, and within a couple minutes, and they're like, "Hey, can you take me down here to, like she said, the Taco Bell?" And you're begging and you're pleading them, "Hey, do something different. You can stay at my house. You can, I'll get you help. I'll get you a room, whatever. Just don't go." No, it's fine. I'll be all right. I'll be all right. You drop them off. And at least the ones that I've dropped off, at least I heard later on that things went okay. But it could have happened just like this. You drop them off with somebody you don't know. And you don't know what's going to happen to these individuals,
For letting CARINA leave with someone who she thought clearly had bad intentions.
It was my fault. In the moment, I even knew better. And a lot of people don't say that. But in that moment, I knew what I was supposed to do, and I didn't.
She says it was the last time she or anyone in the family saw CARINA alive.
And I don't even know if maybe once we find out who did this and why and all that, I still don't know if I'll still be able to forgive myself. Like, that's something I'm just going to have to live with,
As painful as it is now, her encounter helped Bethany police identify the man CARINA left with that night as Kenny Richards, a 44-year-old drug dealer who allegedly promised to turn CARINA into an amateur porn star.
He can get aggressive and mean.
Do you think he's capable of something like this?
I think anyone in his situation would be capable of it.
And that may help explain why no one who ran in Kenny's circle was able or willing to tie him directly to CARINA's murder. We'd have to go straight to the source. Your name keeps coming up in this investigation. Kenny Richards had dodged us for years. He's been in prison several times since CARINA's murder on various drug convictions. Most recently, federal agents busted him in connection with the international drug trade. His case file revealed he had a suspicious photo of CARINA on his phone, but the exact nature of it has been kept confidential. I wrote to him several times in prison, but he never acknowledged my letters, so we decided to keep tabs on his parole. and be there when he walked out of Jackie Brannon Correctional Center in McAllister. Corrections officials had other ideas, though, and kicked us off the property.
When you cross back over here, come on the top.
Persistence, however, paid off. A couple of weeks later, he called us.
Hello.
Mr. Richards, Lisa Monahan. Karina's family is suffering, and I'm hoping that you can help us help them.
Kenny Richards is key to filling in gaps in the timeline, starting with what happened after he picked Karina up September 28th.
We weren't doing anything. She called me for a ride.
Did she ever indicate that she was in any sort of trouble?
Not at all.
Richards says he just drove Karina to the Rockwell Arms apartments, where he watched her walk between the buildings and fade into the night.
I asked her who she was going to see there, and she goes, that was none of she is my friend's business. That's what she told me, and I drove away.
Richards is adamant he never saw Karina after that night. And although we couldn't find evidence suggesting otherwise, we still had to ask the questions that for 10 years now, so many have been asking.
Were you pimping her out?
No, I've never pimped anyone out my whole life.
So you never made a sex tape of Karina Saunders?
No.
I also asked him outright if he killed Karina or had some other role in the murder.
Absolutely not.
So you weren't made to clean up Karina's murder?
Hell no.
Investigators had received a tip that Richards was seen using bleach to clean up a car he had borrowed around that time.
He was driving my car, this car out here. The cops came to my house up there in Oklahoma City, and they thought that the blood that was in the back of it might have been hers. I didn't know that he was using my vehicle to do all this kind of crap.
We found the car and could see where investigators took a sample of the carpet, presumably to test. We're not privy to the results of their test, so we did our own.
For there to be that size of a marking, that's not someone that just like cut their hand putting something in the back of this vehicle.
And you can see the big swipes.
I just thought that it was over by now. You know, it's been so long.
On site, we had presumptive positive for human blood and shipped 2 samples to a private forensic lab. Both came back negative. Then there's women's clothing that the OSBI found buried in a metal bin on his property in 2017.
I've raised 3 girls in that house. I'm sure they're going to find the stuff they found, but just none of that stuff had to do with Karina.
If not Karina, how about Brittany Grisso, a stripper found dead at Richards' home about 5 months later?
They say she shot herself.
Do you believe she shot herself and you didn't hear it?
I normally would have heard something, I'm sure, but there's all sorts of rumors about that too.
Adding to the mystery are confidential police reports we obtained that show Richards told police he didn't see a gun at the scene, and investigators never mentioned one either. Still, Grisso's death was ruled a suicide. By all accounts, Grisso and Karina were friends. More uncertain is whether they were together at any point in the final weeks of her life.
I mean, I don't have anything to do with either one of those girls' deaths.
Back on the timeline, before Karina's death, September 30th, Karina got a message from Matthew Kyle Savage asking to hang out. We're not sure if they ever met up, but records show they exchanged several messages in the 3 months before Karina's murder. Toward the end, Karina sent and received warnings that Savage was, quote, bad news.
Hi, guys. Hi. I'm trying to find your son.
Savage's father tried to convince him to talk to us, but he refused.
He said, no, I don't. I think he's just fed up with it.
Savage was a suspect early on when it was discovered he sent threatening messages to Karina's cousin Catherine saying, I'm going to bury you next to Karina, before anyone knew Karina had been killed.
Did he tell you he's innocent?
Oh, yeah.
Savage told investigators he was just riled up and didn't mean what he texted. The next 6 days are tough to pinpoint. Several statements indicate Karina was running around with Judy Roberts, an ex-convict she'd befriended at a casino in Newcastle 2 weeks before.
I want you guys to pay attention to this portion. Pay attention really hard, because this is probably how it happened. After watching it the first time, it makes a lot of sense that this is probably how it happened. Not that I'm discounting the elder gentleman having anything to do with it, but this right here makes a lot of sense. So y'all pay attention, please.
For her death. We'll delve into Roberts and her associates shortly, but there's one other point on the timeline to discuss first. CARINA was spotted on October 6th or 7th at the Studio 41 apartments at Northwest 41st and MacArthur.
I just hear, "Hey, Keegan, how you been?" And I didn't recognize her right away, but as soon as I turned and saw that big old smile of hers, it clicked.
Keegan Zimmerman knew CARINA from high school and admitted he was a little caught off guard to see her working outside of his apartment.
And we sat and chatted in the courtyard, and she just she seemed a little guarded at the time, a little to divulge too much about her life.
But CARINA did reveal she'd been staying with the apartment's handyman and son, helping around the complex to pay them back.
Did she let on that she was in any sort of trouble during the time that you guys spent together?
I don't think she was around the right people at the time, but something wasn't right.
He can't remember the handyman all these years later, but says several aspects of his last interaction with CARINA have stuck with him.
I noticed that she looked skinnier than I had ever seen her. So I asked her, "Hey girl, when was the last time you ate?" You know, and she said, "I don't think it's been since breakfast yesterday." And whew.
Keegan gave her something to eat and a place to hang out for a bit. When he realized CARINA was living out of a small frayed laundry bag, Keegan says he gave her a green duffel bag to store her things.
I said, "Hey, let's toss your stuff in this. This is a little more sturdy. You're not, when you're living on the road, you gotta make sure everything's secure,
He says CARINA was grateful for his generosity, and as he dropped her off at an unknown location, she seemed proud of that new duffel bag.
I have some new developments tonight.
Keegan says he didn't see CARINA again. That is until she appeared on the news.
My heart seized so hard when I heard she was found in a duffel bag. I thought that could have been the one I gave her.
To Keegan's relief, it was not. The autopsy report indicated CARINA's body parts were found inside a black Nike duffel bag and a small laundry bag. Her hands, feet, forearms, left breast, and clothing were missing.
I remember just distinctly her remains coming into the office.
The medical examiner found residue of duct tape around her thighs and suspicious bruises on her right cheek and right shoulder. The evidence led investigators to believe CARINA may have been tortured before her death.
With this case, the body told us a lot.
The medical examiner couldn't determine if CARINA was alive during the dismemberment, but it was clear the killer made attempts to conceal her identity. The autopsy revealed cut marks around a distinctive tattoo on CARINA's back that indicated the perpetrator tried to remove it and cut her long hair to 3 inches. This plays into the mistaken identity theory. Was it an attempt to make CARINA look like someone else?
What part of it haunts you the most?
The fact that I could have been her.
We tracked down the last person to see CARINA alive. She vanished from the Newcastle casino October 8th. Did someone send her into a dangerous situation to save themselves? We ask her the tough questions next.
See, so you noticed on that autopsy that she had portions of her body that were cut off, including the attempt to cut off a tattoo that would have been a distinguishing feature of who she was, right? Because tattoos are definitely distinguishing features to tell, hey, this is definitely this person because they had this type of tattoo. But what's going to happen next is going to blow your mind a little bit. And I believe that this is the theory that what actually happened to this poor girl. I mean, to be stuffed in a duffel bag is just as bad as being stuffed in a suitcase. I mean, I'll never fit in a duffel bag. I'll never fit in a suitcase. But I can't imagine, being dismembered or attempted to be dismembered and then thrown in a duffel bag, in a laundry bag, and just thrown behind a grocery store.
You know how many body shops I hung out at? At 2 o'clock in the morning? 1 million of them. because that was the place to go. If they were chopping them cars up or if they were slinging anything, then you knew where to get it.
A place to get drugs. But a decade later, we're hoping this body shop can provide something else. Information.
We're investigating Karina Saunders' murder. Do you have a spot where we can talk?
She was just 15 back then, running around with her mom in search of their next high.
I've seen things, and that's all that I needed to see.
She says she's clean now and doing legitimate work on cars, but because of her past and because she's the last person to see Karina alive, she didn't want to show her face.
I live a life of being scared every day.
What part of it haunts you the most?
The fact that I could have been her. With the way that my mother was dragging me around, she was dragging me into drug houses and places and people who were murderers and who were doing it for fun.
She believes her mother, Judy Roberts, a 38-time convicted felon, did the same with Karina, dragging her into dangerous situations in the final weeks of her life. The admitted con artist and drug runner is in prison now, but was connected to multiple drug rings, seemingly willing to work anywhere she could get in on the take.
Newcastle was the spot at the time. So that's where we always were.
Newcastle is also where Roberts befriended Karina within 2 weeks of her death. They were almost inseparable, which is why investigators were interested in Roberts' whereabouts the night Karina vanished.
I honestly felt the less that I knew, the better off I was.
Roberts' daughter claims her first involvement with Karina was when her mother dropped Karina off with her at a house in Newcastle.
My mother said that she was going to go and get some more dope and left.
Hours later, Roberts' daughter says she took Karina to the Newcastle casino. She remembers dropping her off shortly after midnight on October 8th.
We pulled up into the parking lot and she got out. And when she got out, she was heading for the door and then bolted to the left down the aisle there in the parking lot. And that was the last that I had seen her. There was a car that was sitting over there that was full of girls that were hollering, "Don't get in the truck with them." But by that point, I didn't care.
Roberts' daughter actually gave investigators a slightly different account of what happened, telling them her mother was with them and that Judy Roberts, quote, ran right into the casino while Karina climbed into a red truck with a group of men. In 2016, the OSBI released a picture of a similar looking truck.
The photograph actually depicts very clearly the pickup we're looking for.
Investigators announced surveillance cameras at the casino captured Karina getting into a red four-door Ford pickup. A photo of the actual truck and surveillance video of the alleged incident have never been released to the public. The OSBI's description of the truck's occupants was also vague.
Some of the men inside this red pickup, there were several we believe, one of them, at least one, had tattoo sleeves on both arms.
The men were never identified. They, the truck, and the witnesses in the casino parking lot remain a mystery to this day. Certainly, a release of authentic images would have helped identify the truck and perhaps even the people Karina left with, if she was in fact at the casino that night. Did security cameras capture Karina in the parking lot of the casino, or is her last known whereabouts based on witness statements? We asked to review the video to verify Karina was at the casino that evening, but the OSBI denied our request because its investigative files are confidential. We'd have to rely on paper trails instead, and almost immediately we noticed holes in Roberts' alibi. Roberts claimed she and Karina had been staying at the home of James Donaldson, known as Kitchens, in southeast Oklahoma City, up until the day Karina started hallucinating on drugs. She said it was at that point she decided to get Karina out of there to keep her safe.
Kitchen is as dangerous as they come. He was taking orders from somebody in a prison and was more than happy to kill anybody just to get a hand on them.
We were unable to reach Donaldson, aka Kitchens, but he denied any involvement when he spoke to investigators, and he told a very different story than Roberts. A week before Karina's disappearance, he said Roberts told him she owed drug dealers money and they were threatening her and her daughter. Roberts had supposedly stolen a carload of meth. The dealer had called to discuss her debt, and that soon after, Karina began hallucinating. Kitchen said he asked what Roberts gave Karina, and she told him not to worry about it. He said the two left his house with an unknown Mexican male. Days later, he said Roberts called him crying, yelling, and was not understandable. Within a day or two, Carina's body was discovered. Under interrogation, Roberts claimed drug dealers put a price on her head because she refused to run drugs between Oklahoma and California. She feared they killed Carina when their actual intent was to kill her daughter. Both were young women with dark hair who were often spotted with Roberts. In this photo shared to social media in 2011, Roberts' daughter had what she describes as short hair.
Back then, I had black and red hair. You could tell a difference. My hair was short and cut like a bob. Spiky hair in the back and kind of longish hair in the front.
She didn't give us the specific length of her hair, but indicated Carina had long hair the last time she saw her. According to the autopsy, Carina's hair was only 3 inches when her body was discovered.
I think she was misplaced for somebody else.
The mistaken identity theory is common among Roberts' past associates, including this informant whose identity we agreed to hide.
If I'm seen in this state by anybody, then I'm gonna get killed.
And why would someone want to kill you?
Because I know too much. I have too much information. Well, I heard it from Judy herself. Judy spent a bunch of drug money at the casino, and then she couldn't get money back, and she was getting in trouble. I think Carina just kind of walked into it, and she had no idea what she was getting into.
The informant claims Roberts convinced Carina to make the drug run in her place to pay off the debt.
She was going to go with whatever guy picked her up to go take a drug run to California and come back. And then she was going to get paid for it. That was really the beginning of her end.
It's not known where Carina went after leaving the casino October 8th, but 2 days later, October 10th, she called her friend R.C. Reed from a blocked number to say she was fine and hanging out with some people. When he asked who, she hung up. No one ever heard from Carina again. She was reported missing that day. Trying to figure out who she was with October 10th, we followed a lead behind prison walls.
I mean, this person did a hell of a job investigating this. I mean, as she's putting this together, it's almost like you're going, wow, this is like a police investigation type thing. Because not only do these things make sense, they're actually flowing quite fluidly. Man, it's raining so hard here. So I don't know if y'all hear the thunder, but it is coming down. So let's recap what we've heard. The Roberts lady owed the drug dealers some dope and money. She was supposed to make a run. Obviously, they had threatened her about hurting her daughter. She supposedly gave Carina something that made her start hallucinating. Carina went into the red truck, took off with the mail, called this individual, said she was okay, never heard from again. What do y'all think? Which one of these people hurt this woman, do you think?
The inmate received nothing in exchange for information.
She's being made as an example, but I think it had more to do with the drugs and the cartel, much more with all of it right together.
The inmate told us drug gangs were involved in making Carina pay off a debt. He claims his relative was forced to deliver her.
Yeah, that's where she was saying when she dropped her off that night was to tell her mother that she was sorry.
The inmate stopped short of saying anything else that could help push the investigation forward. He was afraid of turning up dead, as others have. Francisco Gomez, a.k.a. Pancho, was named in a 2011 drug bust connected to Carina's death.
Do you have anything to do with the killing?
I didn't got nothing to do with nothing, man. No drugs, no murder, no nothing.
Search warrants revealed Gomez had bragged about his role in the killing and claimed to have a video of it. He died in prison of a meth overdose.
If you look at the timelines, you'll see that it's just like, why are they dying out of nowhere?
Sarah Saunders kept track of all mysterious deaths connected to her sister's case until 2015, when Carina's high school friend Gavin Bolschweiler disappeared while looking into her murder.
It just haunted him, and he wanted to find out who did that to her. He couldn't let it go.
Gavin's mom, Corinne, says her son refused to give up, risking his own life to find evidence in her murder.
He would go to places and knew people, and he knew bad places around Oklahoma City where things happen.
Gavin was running in those circles in the weeks before his disappearance. While she's not sure what he uncovered, Corinne believes it was enough to get him killed.
He was murdered.
When they found him, they smelled him. They smelled the smell of death. And that's why they thought initially it was an animal or something. And then when they investigated, they said, oh, no, this is a person. We need to call somebody.
The medical examiner couldn't say for sure how Gavin died, but the autopsy found evidence of blunt force trauma.
He was laying this way. His scalp was probably right about here.
6 weeks before the gruesome discovery, Corinne began retracing Gavin's steps, just the same as he'd done with CARINA's.
This is where his body was found. This is the door they wrote stuff on.
At one time it said, nothing you say is worth losing your life over.
Oh, talk to me. If I could just reach out and touch him.
As a result, Corinne fears her son's death will remain as much of a mystery as the one he'd set out to solve. Although CARINA's family wants to know why she was killed, they don't want anyone else to be buried here.
I want the answers, but not at the cost of somebody else's life.
Like many investigators before us, we retraced her final days, but were unable to get definitive answers as to who killed CARINA.
One day down the road, I've got to say there's an end, and I'll be happy. One day down the road, I'll find that forgiveness, but right now, I'm going to stay closed-minded until I find out the truth.
10 years after her murder, CARINA's family is hopeful our efforts will breathe new life into the investigation.
I still strive to maintain that hope. When I see a butterfly.
That's what I don't get when people say that families are not victims. How the hell is that possible? I know I spoke on this earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Look how impacted these two family members are, and amongst other people that were friends of this person. It doesn't just go away after a couple months, after a couple years. This is 10 years, and they're still grieving to an extent. A victim is a victim. You don't ever not become a victim because time does not heal wounds all the time. To say that, it just pisses me off, man, because victim is a victim.
I think of CARINA and God's strength. I feel like she's with me.
They still desperately want justice because justice, they believe, has the power to transform violence into peace.
I'll find out one day, whether it's here or in heaven.
If you have any information that can help law enforcement with this investigation, you can directly contact the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation by emailing tips@osbi.ok.gov. You can remain anonymous.
And that is all that has to do with that. But I want to show you the location where the house was before they tore it down in Oklahoma City. This is the location of the house where the drug activity and everything was, where you saw those pictures of the drawings on the wall. And this is the little area that she was talking about that could have been a basement that they never dug up this. So this is the location where the drug house was burnt. This is the neighborhood. It's always interesting to see exactly how common these places are where these things take place. You would never think that something this heinous could happen in a location like this. I mean, if you saw this place, if you Google CARINA SAUNDERS dope house or whatever, Oklahoma City, you'll see the old images of the house. It's a 2-story house, and supposedly it was in and out type of service, methamphetamines, all kinds of stuff. And these apartments were the apartments where that individual in that video, he owns these apartments. And he was the landlord to this residence right here that they tore down. But what do you think? Do you think this is could this be a basement? Because it is just so strange that this sticks out and everything else on the ground is kind of flat. I thought that was an interesting catch. See, this house looks like it could be, some kind of tweaker's paradise. No judgment here, but, I've seen a lot of them. Usually the windows covered up like this. Could be they don't have the money to fix the windows. Could be anything. And then you go down this way and it's, fairly nice. I wanted to share that with you guys. I want to share something else with you. You hear that mean ass dog? This was just something I saw today. It says Texas father killed in garage on Halloween, possibly by suspect in Michael Myers mask. I don't know what this is going to say, so don't hold me to anything that it says.
Without a father after a deadly shooting that happened in Northwest Harris County. And investigators are now searching for a man who was wearing a Michael Myers mask who could be connected. So we know that this happened on Hawks Nest Drive near Ella and Greens overnight. You can see the map here. Our Courtney Fisher has been at the scene all morning long and has more on what we are learning about the man killed.
There are several layers to this story. This father in his 30s, we're told, was shot and killed while he was in his garage, his 2 children home at the time. Now, investigators tell us he was a person of interest in his estranged wife's murder that happened 2.5 months ago. Homicide detectives searched the Dodge Challenger on Hawks Nest Drive, looking for any clues that could help them understand why the owner was killed, shot at least 3 times, a few feet away, detectives say. It happened Halloween night around 11 p.m. when trick-or-treating was done, but authorities say several neighbors said they noticed a man in a mask walking down the sidewalk before hearing shots. A neighbor's camera caught this 15 minutes before Precinct 4 deputies arrived.
Are we, 100% sure that this was that person that did it? No. But yes, they were stated that someone was wearing a Michael Myers Halloween mask.
Carmen Peterson was the man's estranged wife who was murdered back on August 16th. The 37-year-old mother was shot to death while she slept in her bed at her apartment off FM 1960. Peterson's sister spoke to us in September.
I never thought that, I would walk in on my sister, just laying in the bed, murdered.
In March, Peterson filed for divorce from her husband of 15 years, according to court documents. Now, authorities confirm he was a person of interest in her unsolved murder. The couple shared 3 children together, 3 children now left without parents. In Northwest Harris County, Courtney Fisher, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
And I've been talking about this case for a while, but it was something that was really had a lot of ground last year because there were 6 women that were killed in Oregon, and they couldn't find the perpetrator. And this is the individual that was ultimately arrested. And let's hear this description of the 6 women. There was even people trying to incorporate this in the Idaho 4 case. They were trying to say that this was a serial killer, that he was going from Idaho to Oregon to Washington because there was a lot of killings in those areas, and they were assuming that it was the same guy. So this individual was caught in Oregon for 3 women that he was charged with, but there were 6 that were ultimately killed.
At this point, if in fact he is responsible for the deaths of these 3 women, that he is considered a serial killer.
An accused serial killer indicted in the murders of 3 women, and additional charges could be on the way.
When a serial killer is in action, part of the reason they're able to kill again and again is because they're careful with the crimes they commit.
So how did he get away with it for so long?
But it does indicate that someone is preying potentially on these women and doing so in an area where they can't be located.
And why was this accused killer previously granted clemency?
I think when we initially hear the story of the governor granting him clemency, we immediately think that she must have made a huge error.
Just this month, 39-year-old Jesse Lee Calhoun was indicted by an Oregon grand jury on 3 counts of second-degree murder and 3 more counts of second-degree abuse of a corpse. This comes more than a year after multiple bodies were discovered around the Portland, Oregon area. Here's the timeline. The body of 22-year-old Kristen Smith was the first to be found on February 19, 2023 in Portland. Several months later, the body of 32-year-old Joanna Speaks was found just north in Clark County. After that, 24-year-old Charity Perry's body was found in Ainsworth State Park on April 24th, and 31-year-old Bridget Webster was found on April 30th in Polk County. The last body recovered belonged to 22-year-old Ashley Reel, who was recovered on May 7th in Eagle Creek. An additional body was also recovered, but investigators determined it wasn't related. They did make the link between those 5 victims, though, and listed Jesse Calhoun as a suspect last July. But just this month, he was indicted on 3 of those murders: Charity Perry, Bridget Webster, and Joanna Speaks.
It's not uncommon when an individual is being investigated for a crime that instead of making the arrest, the district attorney's office will do what we call in New York an X or silent indictment, where it gives them time, sometimes months, to put in the evidence against an individual without the individual knowing that the case is going on. And once that indictment comes, they will issue an arrest warrant for the individual to be apprehended and face the indictment.
You know what's sad about these crimes sometimes is they look at what type of work or what type of lifestyle these individuals were living instead of looking at them as a human being that was murdered. Some of these females were homeless. Some of them were working as prostitutes. Some of them were just down on their luck. Drug addicts, you name it. So when police go to investigate these crimes, a lot of times it's not a priority because they find out what type of lifestyle they were living. And almost all the time they chalk it up to, well, the lifestyle is what got them killed. But that's not always true. And in Portland, if I've been researching and reading and watching, they decriminalized drugs and they defunded the police. So I can't imagine what kind of area that is based on the videos I've been watching about that place. It seems like a lot of anarchy, a lot of homeless camps, a lot of individuals killing innocent people, and really there's not a lot being done about it. I don't know how other cities that have been defunding the police, like here in Austin, Texas, it was bad for a little while until the state troopers got involved. I don't know if you live in a city that's been defunding the police, how bad it is where you live, but it's obviously not a good thing. And this is one of those cases where that obviously rears its ugly head.
That's law and crime legal analyst Julie Rendelman. I sat down with her to learn more about this case. And I know that grand jury proceedings are secretive. They're kind of kept behind closed doors. But is there anything we could imagine is happening in there that would yield these indictments?
I would expect that we might hear from, they may hear from, or may have heard from eyewitnesses, eyewitness testimony. Again, we're guessing. There could be statements from the defendant that were made. There can be DNA, circumstantial evidence, things that establish that the defendant was at the specific locations where the victims were eventually found, and that he was there to the exclusivity of everybody else. Again, we're guessing, and we will eventually find out some of the things that went in, because naturally that will be the evidence that is going to be used ultimately at the trial.
As Julie explains, there's a reason why Jesse Calhoun was indicted on counts of second-degree murder.
So every state has various degrees of murder. Oregon is no different. And so we still don't know whether or not this was just an intentional murder, or whether or not this was a murder that involved perhaps arson, rape, robbery, things of that nature that might escalate it to aggravated murder or murder in the first degree.
Let's pause this Jesse Calhoun story for a quick second to thank Morgan & Morgan for sponsoring today's Law and Crime News Package. It's stories like this that remind you you never know what's going to happen, and the world is an unpredictable place. So when you're hurt, it can be confusing, it can be scary, and you don't realize they've gotten verdicts of $12 million in Florida, 20 forthepeople.com/LC News, or by dialing. Now, let's get back to the story. The case itself is still shrouded in mystery, including the way that the women were killed and why. And right now, there are still a lot of unanswered questions in this case. We know that the women died under suspicious circumstances, but we don't know how they were killed. Why may investigators be keeping that information close to the vest?
So that's a great question with not an easy answer. There can be many reasons. Sometimes they're hoping eventually the defendant, they're able to get the defendant to talk, and they don't want to give him information. They also, there might be certain sensitivities with regards to some of the evidence that by telling or telling the world about it, it may impact their ability to protect that evidence. Again, we're really guessing, and I think it's really just a short matter of time until we find out how it was that these individuals were killed.
But it's safe to say that starting from the time the first body was recovered, an investigation has been ongoing. So he was listed as a suspect almost a year ago in July 2023, and then just this month had been indicted. So during that entire time, was the investigation still ongoing?
We can only guess as to what was happening. One would assume, especially because we're dealing with multiple murders, and remember, we're also dealing with the potential that he was involved with even more, that law enforcement and the prosecutor's office was doing their due diligence, crossing their T's, dotting their I's, and making sure they had all the evidence they needed to guarantee that a jury would in fact indict.
And I know this is speculation as of right now because we still don't even know the cause of death or how these women were murdered. But we have these 5 people who are likely linked. How would investigators make that link? How would they connect all of these victims?
We know at the very least that the 3 individuals of which he was indicted for, those women were found in fairly remote areas. I think one was found by a creek, one was found in a park, one was found in an abandoned home. Not that that it means it's the same person, but it does.
And if you don't follow Veli Ray, he's VELLYRAY. He does have videos where he talks to Jesse Calhoun's ex-girlfriend, and they go into the abandoned house where one of these girls was found, and he takes you all over that area, and he supposedly works with the homeless down there. So it's an interesting channel. You might check it out. I would show the footage, but I'm not sure if I would get copyrighted. I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, so I'm not even going to chance it. But you can go watch it on his channel. He outlines exactly where one of these women was found.
Indicate that someone is preying potentially on these women and doing so in an area where they can't be located. When we talk about linking individuals together, it could be linked because of DNA. It could be linked because all of them work in the same type of field or are exposed to the same type of potentially criminal element. It could be linked because each of them are in the defendant's phone, and they were able to figure out the links starting in that direction. So it could be a plethora of things.
Does it make things more complicated that right now we have 3 victims and 2 potential additional victims? There are multiple people who were allegedly murdered.
I think the issue becomes that it seems that they're still investigating. So even though there's been these indictments for the 3 women, there's still possibly more indictments. It sounds like they investigated even a 6th murder and then ruled that out. And so it just means that the investigation seems to be ongoing, but they wanted to make sure that they got him on at least the 3 as they continue on investigating the rest.
As investigators pointed out, the victims range in age and location. When I was looking at a map about all the places that these 5 women were found located, it was kind of all over the Portland, Oregon area. And immediately the wheels in my mind started turning, thinking, okay, could these have been different jurisdictions? So is it possible that the suspect in this case was going from place to place so that it may have taken longer for investigators to link or connect these murders?
It's not unusual, especially when we're talking about a serial killer, that while they might kill someone in the same fashion, they will potentially move from area to area in the hope they won't get caught. Also, keep in mind that crime is sometimes one of opportunity. So this might be an individual that was driving in his car looking for the next victim. We just don't know. But remember,
When this story first broke a year ago or a year and months ago, I mistook it for being Washington, not Oregon. And I instantly thought, oh, there's a connection to the Idaho 4. Because at that time I was cross-examining the murders, the location, trying to find similarities. If there was a serial killer, just digging up stuff like that. And it's just interesting how many serial killers are up in that region. Oregon, Washington, Idaho. All that area is full of present and past serial killers. And that is just astounding to think about.
remember, if it's in different jurisdictions, it means law enforcement has to work together from each of these jurisdictions to make sure that they're sharing information as best they can.
Is that something that we're likely seeing here, that this man could have been a serial killer?
I don't think there's any question at this point if, in fact, he is responsible for the deaths of these 3 women, that he is considered a serial killer. And I think in certain ways, it should alleviate those that live in the location because they've hopefully caught the person responsible. But at the same time, it leaves unanswered questions as to whether or not we talk about them looking into 2 other victims. We heard about a 6th victim, but there could be more. There could be more in other jurisdictions. We just don't know yet.
So if we're working under the assumption that this man is a serial killer, as you said, there could be additional victims. Is it possible that they're working with investigators in California or in Washington state, the neighboring areas, to determine whether he had crossed state lines and maybe killed there?
Absolutely. And remember, we're not in a time where people weren't sharing information. We have the internet. We have the ability to share information with states, with jurisdictions that we did not have in the past, when we used to hear those stories where a rape would occur in California and that same individual would commit a crime in various states and no one knew about it. And so it's paramount for investigators to not just focus on Oregon and the areas where the victims were found, especially when you're dealing with someone that has committed multiple murders allegedly. You really want to expand your investigation to the neighboring states as well.
Julie says the crime itself is shocking, but not unheard of. And moving forward, investigators have their work cut out for them.
I'm not surprised. When a serial killer is in action, part of the reason they're able to kill again and again is because they're careful with the crimes they commit. They try to make sure there's no witnesses. They try to not leave behind evidence that will link them to the crime. And they do so potentially in areas of which either the victim is someone that they think is not going to be missed, or they take the victim to an area of which no one's going to see or hear what happened. So unfortunately, it's not surprising. And I think, in a sense, we're thankful that, assuming he committed these crimes, that he's now in jail and hopefully never going to do this again.
The case takes yet another turn when we consider that the murder suspect had previously been granted clemency by then Oregon Governor Kate Brown. An interesting aside to this case is that previously, before he was arrested in connection to these murders or detained, he had been arrested and was serving time, and then the governor granted him clemency for his work in the 2020 wildfires. What do you make of that?
I think when we initially hear the story of the governor granting him clemency, we immediately think that she must have made a huge error. But when you hear more about the story, it sounds as though, A, she did not know, obviously, anything about this case. And B, the clemency was granted to multiple prisoners that had assisted in the wildfires, to a degree of which the governor thought it was appropriate not to stop their sentence, but to, I believe she took a year off of the sentence. Obviously, if the governor knew that he was under investigation and did this, then we're talking about a whole other set of circumstances.
Looking forward, Julie says there's still much work to be done in this case. And we are in the early stages of the investigation as of now and the court proceedings in general. What do you expect moving forward?
He's going to have an attorney. He'll appear in court. He'll begin facing these charges. And I assume with that, the prosecutor will be required to provide the evidence to his attorney and to him. At the same time, remember, negotiations are always going on with prosecutors and defense attorneys. And this could be, I'm not saying it is, this could be one of those cases where the prosecutor could, put out kind of a carrot in a sense and say, help us find the rest of these victims. Tell us where they are and who they are. And if you do that, we will grant you potentially a better deal than you would if you went to trial and lost.
Three women and leaving their bodies around the Portland metro area made his first court appearance in Multnomah County. Fox 12's Connor McCarthy has been following this story since the beginning and was in the courtroom this morning.
Now, the arraignment only lasted about 2 minutes, but it was a moment family members of the victims have been waiting for. Jesse Calhoun standing before a Multnomah County judge charged with murder in the connection to the deaths of Charity Perry, Bridget Webster, and Joanna Speaks.
On the record.
After months of waiting, the public and the victims' families got to see accused serial killer Jesse Calhoun for the first time.
Entering not guilty plea at this time.
It was barely 120 seconds, but Colleen Vargas, mother of Joanna Speaks, was able to have enough time to see the person accused of taking her daughter's life.
We're on the right track now. I feel maybe that we're getting there. Yeah, there's still a whole lot of process, a whole lot of stuff that needs to be done before anything else. But we're on the right step.
Calhoun was indicted last month on 6 charges for his connection with the deaths of Joanna Speaks, Charity Perry, and Bridget Webster. 3 charges of second-degree murder and 3 charges of abusing a corpse. Vargas is pleased with how detectives have been investigating her daughter's case.
And they're doing their job, and they're obviously doing it pretty well.
Calhoun is still considered a person of interest for the deaths of Ashley Riel and Kristen Smith. Their bodies were also found in different spots of the Portland metro area last year. Melissa Smith, Kristen Smith's mother, was in the courtroom to see who Portland police are investigating and to support the families who have an indictment.
I'm glad he's behind bars. Yeah. I'm glad for the safety of others. It's hard. it's hard to look him in the face, and there's a lot I would like to say. And one day when I get all of my answers, I will say.
The investigation into the deaths of all 5 women has taken more than a year. During that time, Calhoun was finishing out his time at Snake River Correctional Institution for a probation violation while on clemency release. He was booked in Multnomah County just barely 24 hours before his arraignment.
I'm already broken. I'm already lost. And I'm already falling, but I have to keep going. I have to keep fighting.
Smith says she and the other families will be there every step of the way.
I will be at every court hearing, every meeting. I will drop everything. I will never give up fighting for not only my daughter, Kristen, but to be there and be that support for all of these other family members.
Again, Calhoun pleaded not guilty to all 6 charges on that indictment document. Now his next court date will be July 19th.
Okay. Not guilty. All right. We'll see. We'll see about that. We'll see how it goes. Let me just show a small snippet of what I was telling you about. I don't have to show the whole video because let me see if I can find it. How are y'all doing out there? Y'all still with me? Y'all still chilling with me? Are y'all enjoying the broadcasts? I hope so. Because I enjoy the fact that you guys are spending this time with me on this rainy Saturday afternoon. It's really cool to cover something different other than the Idaho 4 case. Not that I don't like that case. It just gets old sometimes, you know? Let me fast forward it so that we don't have to go. I don't want to piss Veli off and he copyright me. Veli Ray, if you see this, I'm not trying to steal any of your footage, just using it for example purposes. And here we go. We're going to play just a little bit of this.
Take your time.
And I just remember looking at this and I was like, this is kind of creepy. It seemed bigger when I was here. Like there was more space between.
I've never seen nothing like this in my life.
Yeah, there's this house. There's the White House.
That's the house I'm talking about. So we did come up the other way.
And then there's another big house.
See, these are supposedly the houses in which, like Rondi just said, they were partying at. But look at this part right here. This is the most disturbing part of it. It's when they walk into this barn area.
Yeah. There's like nothing in there. Oh my God.
There's a blue comforter.
Look at this.
That's yours?
That's from my flashlight.
Yeah. See the way he could lift
brighter
this
right here,
and
look.
use this as a door?
Yeah. Yep. That's from my storage unit. That's a moving blanket. That's what they
Really?
call that. Can I see those? Can I get over to those photos?
Yeah. You had like a fire.
Makes sense.
The
None
work
of this
boots are
was here.
gone. There was.
Are they cat coops?
So this was.
Like cat.
Yes.
Let me see that. It's so dark in here.
They're in a photo and they're
We
gone
put
now.
your flashlight on, Melissa?
Yeah.
This, so this is his spot, you think?
Or a spot, definitely.
What is this right here?
This blanket was upstairs.
Is this his type of coffee?
Is it fuzzy up?
It is?
Something missing from my house. Yeah, he likes that stuff because it's instant. You just,
This is his coffee?
yep.
Wow.
I don't recognize that.
What about this thermos?
Where are these clothes like laid out like they're laid out for?
Looks like no one's touched it.
They're like laid out like this is what I'm gonna wear today, kind of clothes.
Yeah, right.
Do
you want a glove?
Yes, please.
Does any of this look like his or no?
So that's his ex-girlfriend right there, the tall blonde right there. And they're going through this barn area.
Melissa, you have access to this.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, let's
You
talk
you
about
have,
it after.
you have full
Okay.
access
Yeah,
to,
no worries.
to my
Do
stuff.
you have another glove so I can grab the other side of things?
I have one more glove.
I'm so sorry. I should have thought to bring some.
Melissa, you can take pictures and you can record if you want. I mean, you know, it's
We'll take you inside the house. Like I said, I don't want to play the whole thing because I'm not sure how cool he is with people playing his video. But here's supposedly the party house.
All of this too.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be like any bodies in here or something.
everything changes every minute though.
That's true.
Just
And
be-
there was obviously somebody here.
Just because something happened here doesn't mean
I
someone.
don't want to go up first. Will you go up first? I'll be in the middle.
Hold on. I'll
Or no,
go.
Melissa,
I'll go
you
first.
know.
Let me film this. Hold on. I'll go.
I'm scared of things like this.
Hold on. Let me go first.
I remember like looking around, he was telling me like, they're gonna go up the stairs. People be like,
So he walked it this way.
yeah, he went this way. I think I was probably holding onto his arm when I went up, Like all creeped out.
What's the point? Like, what was
He
he
was like,
saying?
you want an adventure? You want to see some abandoned houses? I was like, yeah, sure, let's go, Like, I didn't realize we were,
Yeah, because you would think that would freak you out.
Did you guys going this way?
We did. We walked over here, kind of looked in here. I kind of like was looking.
What was he saying when you guys were up here?
I can remember. He was just talking about like the people looking for money and stuff like that. And
People that owe them money.
no,
Looking for money.
looking for money. So I like kind of stepped in here. This is like the room. It's the room next to us, I think. But I was like, damn, this place. That's why the walls are all the way they are. Because people were looking for money in the walls.
Oh, they're looking for money in the
Or
walls.
treasure or something, yeah. And also they're pulling out the wiring.
The wiring.
Yeah. So this was the room.
Bandages.
Yeah, this was the room where that blue blanket was and where his cigarette pack was.
Where's the picture of Ashley that you seen that he erased? What room was that in?
It was,
This is gonna be.
it would have been this room.
It was this room.
Yeah, because this is the one that had the blanket and stuff in it,
So
He
like
said something.
what corner do you remember? You know.
I felt like it was like right here, but it could have been.
I mean, they find condoms and they find all kinds of. Right here in the corner, they find a cigarette pack. They find unused condoms. There's a bloody gauze gauze right here, and they bag it up. The one lady in the yoga pants with the turquoise tank top, that is one of the mothers. That is Kristen Smith's mom. Her name is Melissa, and she's going around with Belly, and they're looking at all kinds of. This location has a lot of the areas where this is where Jesse took his ex-girlfriend and showed her this area, and this is supposedly where he took some of the people to party.
Look at this. This looks like straps. Yeah.
What are we doing? Tying hands or something?
Zip ties.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is where there was like this whole thing was a fleet of cars pretty much.
Does he drink that monster or no?
I think they were in that shed.
Look at all these CDs.
Oh, the DVDs are by the house we're going to.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of it's already been cleaned up. I've already been talking to the crew that's cleaning it all up.
Yeah.
I'm going to play this last little bit, and I'm going to jump out of it. They're at this big area where there's all these cars. All this is off the road.
I found one on the floor one time. I'm like, what if my baby got this? Like,
Oh my God.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah, it wasn't supposed to be in my home.
Oh yeah.
So, It was found in my home by the detectives because I had it there. I had like 10 pills, and then he had some when they took our stuff.
They didn't charge you with
I
anything?
let the cops know beforehand that they were going to run into some things, and yeah, and because I was like, I can't go home, you know what I mean?
Right.
And they were like, no, I'm sorry. And I said, okay. I said, off the record, let's talk about this, you know? And so they said, that's not what we're looking for. And I'm like, well, what are you guys looking for? You know, because I didn't know. They wouldn't tell me. They didn't tell me shit. So I'll tell you later, you know? And I put 2 and 2 together, you know, obviously. You know, I saw it.
So that's an interesting perspective of the ex-girlfriend and the mother of one of the victims. And this is where her daughter was
Where she was
found.
I've been telling her she lives out in Gresham. I'm like, you be careful. I didn't know, you know?
Yeah.
And it started like, who may be the culprit, but there's several more out there, you know?
Yeah.
She's you know, got her girlfriend and stuff. And I'm like, oh, be together all the time.
Yep.
If your dog's with you.
That's
don't
what I
ever
tell my
leave
other
alone.
daughter now too. Won't let her go anywhere alone.
Little.
Yeah.
Can you show us the exact route he took you?
Yeah, we walked up this way, so you guys might have to give me some like not doing good with the walk, you know. I keep almost so.
So you guys went up from here?
Yeah, we went.
Oh, you went this way. Okay.
Yeah, we climbed up and then like I said, he was really awesome about people seeing us, and he like went way ahead of me.
Okay.
You know, until
So he's walking really fast.
well, he's got long legs and stuff, and
So he kind of wanted to see before you seen what he was.
maybe. But I mean, he stopped when he realized I was having a hard time getting up the hill. You know. Yeah, this one blocked off.
So his ex-girlfriend is saying that he would take, these women supposedly up on this trail, and they would end up in those houses and be partying, and supposedly that's where they lost their lives. And that is just tragic. I mean, that's where one of them supposedly lost their lives. I don't know where the others lost their lives at, but that is supposedly where one, the Christian lady, Kristen Smith, lost her life. Let me check my email because I supposedly have something on the update of the Montana guy. There was supposedly, they thought that he was mauled by a bear, but later he was found out that he was indeed killed by somebody that was recently out on parole, I think. And I want to thank PKC for this. She's the one that sent me this, so let's watch it. Like I said, I hope you guys are enjoying this, because there's a lot of different cases I'm covering in this one live. But it's always interesting that these cases don't get enough exposure. They don't get enough exposure. And here's the presser. Let's watch it.
So this press conference today, I will have a few things to say. I'm going to invite Nate Cameraman up, who is the captain of our detective division. He'll have a brief statement, and then I will finish off with a few words. So to start, thank you guys for being here. The sheriff's office is here to announce the arrest of Darren Christopher Abbey for the murder of Dustin Gerson. This murderer is a 41-year-old male who is currently living in the Basin, Montana area and working in the Big Sky area. I will no longer refer to him by his name, as I don't want to give him any further notoriety regarding this homicide. During the investigation, the detectives collected DNA from a beer can inside of Gerson's tent and sent it to the Montana State Crime Lab. The Montana State Crime Lab worked diligently to get us a match, and on October 25th, they informed us they had a combined DNA index system, or CODIS, confirmation. These investigators worked all day to locate this individual on On October 26th, they learned he was in the Butte area. With the assistance of the Butte Civil Sheriff's Office and the Montana Department of Corrections, Probation, and Parole officers, he was arrested, leaving a local establishment. This individual was interviewed by our detectives and then the Montana Department of Justice DCI agents on October 29th. This individual confessed to the murder of Dustin Gerson. In order to understand what happened, I want to give a little background on what was learned during the course of the investigation. Dustin arrived in the Moose Creek area on Thursday, the 10th of October, and set up camp. This camp included a wall tent, complete with wood stove, beds, lamps, and multiple other items. His girlfriend had to work on Friday, so his plan was to travel back to the valley Friday evening and pick her up so that they could spend the weekend together. On Friday night, Dustin did not show up to pick up his girlfriend, and she became worried. On Saturday morning, she and a friend drove to the campsite and found Dustin deceased in the tent. By all accounts, this homicide appears to be a chance encounter. There does not appear to be any connection between our victim and our suspect. During the confession, we learned the suspect was looking for a place to camp on Thursday night and had planned on this particular site. As he approached the site, he realized someone was staying there. He stated Dustin welcomed him to the campsite and offered him a beer. At some point, this individual struck Dustin Gerson with a piece of solid wood, stabbed him in the neck with a screwdriver, and ultimately hit him with the axe. The motives of this attack are still unknown, and the investigators will continue to piece together everything they can to build a better picture of the events that evening. This appears to be a heinous crime committed by an individual who had no regard for the life of Dustin Gerson. This individual removed items from the campsite he believed had evidence that could tie him to the crime. He removed the items he had touched, to include the cooler, the firearms, and the axe, and returned to the crime the following night and removed further items. This is the behavior of a guilty subject who thought they could get away with murder. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nate Cameron, Captain of my Detective Division.
Thank you, Sheriff. Again, I'm Nate Cameron. I'm a investigations captain at the Sheriff's Office. 2 weeks ago, Jillian Price, the sister of our victim, Sheriff Springer and I stood here at this podium asking the community for help. We had leads, but they were few. We had evidence, but it was minimal. Today, we're here to tell you that Darren Abbey has been arrested and charged with deliberate homicide for his actions taken against Dustin Gerson on October 11. We're thankful to the community for the information you have provided. Through the assistance of a multitude of agencies, labs, analysts, and volunteers, our team was able to gather enough evidence to charge Darren with Mr. Abbey, with the actions he chose to take that night. I'm thankful to my team and everyone helping them for their commitment to finding answers and building this case. The community and the Sheriff's Office can be proud of the work they've done. Thank you.
Thanks, Nate. So the detectives of the Sheriff's Office, the investigators of DCI, and the Montana State Crime Lab deserve an extra shout out. They have all burned the midnight oil in order to bring justice to Dustin Gerson and his family. I want to thank each and every one of them for their persistence and dedication. The general public may not know the number of hours it takes to work in one of these cases and put the pieces together. Although a subject has been arrested and charged, there is still months of work to be done. These cases consume the entire division, and each of them know although a subject has been arrested and charged, there's still months of work to be done. These cases consume the entire division, and each of them know there are more cases coming in every day of less priority that will need their attention shortly. I want to thank the family members of these investigators who have graciously gone without their spouse, father, and or mother for the past 3 weeks. My office, my deputies, my investigators, and our families are willing to sacrifice everything for our community members and their safety. It is this type of approach that makes the Sheriff's Office and its members special. I would be remiss not to thank all of the other agencies who have dedicated their time and energy as well. That list has been provided in yesterday's release, and it continues to grow. To the family and friends of Dustin Jersom, you are all in our thoughts and prayers. No one deserves to have this happen to them. I hope this can bring a little bit of peace to all of you, and I'm sorry you're having to go through this. To the other criminals out there, the Gallatin County Sheriff's Office and its partners will not stand for this type of behavior. You will not get away with it in our community. If you have some need to commit these types of crimes, let it be known we will hunt you down, and we will make sure that you never see the light of day again. We know it is our responsibility to stand between evil and good in this world. We will protect the good people of this community with every resource we have. So thank you guys for all the extra work you've done on this. And with that, I will take some questions.
You mentioned the motive isn't clear yet. Did the suspect provide the information that he was welcomed into the camp and had a beer with the victim, and then the suspect struck the victim? Is there any kind of rationale for why the suspect decided to do this?
We have a bit of his story, but we don't really know what the true story is. The question is do we really know what happened in this case? What caused this? And we have a story. We just don't know if it's accurate. So I'm not willing to share that until we know what's actually accurate.
Is the suspect Butte, Big Sky? Where is he hailed from?
So he was living kind of, I don't want to say transient, but it was kind of in multiple different areas. He currently had a place in Basin, Montana, and was spending some time in Butte that night when he was arrested. He was employed up in the Big Sky area at different times as well.
He was arrested in Butte. Where is he currently being held?
So the question is, he was arrested in Butte. Where is he currently being held? He was arrested in Butte. He was being held in Butte up until today, and our plan is to have him transferred back to here as charges are filed.
The press release said that you picked up on unrelated charges. What were those charges?
The question is about unrelated charges in the prior press release. He'd been picked up on a probation violation, and that's what he's being held on.
Last one. Any specifics on what he was doing up in Big Sky, where he was employed? What kind of work he was doing?
Yeah, so he was in construction business. The question is, what was he doing up in Big Sky? Where was he employed? He had, my understanding was a contractor, but I don't have all the details as to exactly what he was doing at that time. Is that good? All right, thank you.
All right. So, a lot of stuff going on out there, guys. A lot of stuff going on. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Hope you guys enjoyed spending time at 12 Gauge's channel. Thank you so much, K&B, for being here. Kane is the creator. If one of you mods would drop his link to his channel, as well as Heather's. Heather, if you want to drop your own link, that'd be great. So, like I said, it's always interesting to learn about new cases, and especially with that individual named Belly Ray, as far as that case is concerned, he has boots on the ground. And, he has boots on the ground, and he rides a bike. He hands out baked chicken that he makes for the homeless. He helped them get housing. He helped them get into treatment. He helps, he tried to help individuals, get the services they need to get off the streets. And it's very interesting. that he does that. You know, he does it out of his own money. He does, you know, as far as I know, he doesn't get any funding or anything like that. So, you know, it's a tough lifestyle to be out there, you know, in your area. He is from Portland. He grew up in the 82nd Street area. So he rides around these homeless camps and passes out food, and, you know, he passes out dog food, big bags of dog food for the dogs of the individuals that have dogs out there that don't have any food. Passes out water, things like that. So if you haven't checked out Valley Ray's channel, go check it out. It's very interesting, and he seems to be a genuine guy. As far as whether he is or not, that's to be here nor there. You know, he's doing a service that a lot of people aren't. So my hat's off to him. So we got through Halloween. We're on to Thanksgiving. I don't know what any of you guys' plans are, but, you know, try to remember that there are people out here in these streets that don't have a thing to eat. They don't have any blankets. They don't have any clothing. They don't have hygiene. They don't have any of this stuff. So if you're capable in your community, you might get some Ziploc bags and, you know, head to the Dollar Tree or somewhere and just pick up some stuff. If you have some extra money that, you know, you want to do some good, pack up these care packages, and, you know, if you see somebody in need, just drop it off. Doesn't necessarily have to mean that you have to film it or take a selfie with them or anything like that, you know, because we're all one traumatic event from being on the streets, because times are hard. Times are hard these days. There's a lot of predators out there. So be safe in all you do. And, you know, it doesn't cost a lot to do something good today. Sometimes the act of kindness or a kind word or maybe a handshake or a word of encouragement goes a long way. Possibly be the difference between life and death in someone's situation if they're not in a good frame of mind. So try to remember that, guys. And I'm going to leave you with this. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? If you can't, you might get yourself a bigger shovel. Maestro, choose that music. You have a good evening. Be safe out there.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We and don't show any fear. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect your soul.